Today we're going to talk about your fight or flight system. This system is all a part of your autonomic nervous system. It's a very important part. There's two main parts of your autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system means it's the parts of us that happen automatically. Digesting our food, beating our heart, respiration rate, your hormonal system, temperature regulation, just to name a few. I mean, this is a really important system in the body, and when there's imbalance in your autonomic nervous system, all sorts of things can happen. And there's this amazing man, Porges, who did all sorts of wonderful research on this system that actually really helped children, it was mostly on children with autism, to really improve by shifting what was going on for them in their autonomic nervous system. Now, how did he do this? This is the cool part. I'll explain how once I give you a little tiny bit of anatomy about your, I'm going to call it your ANS, your autonomic nervous system. So your autonomic nervous system has that fight or flight part, and then it has the rest and restore part. And those two parts, they're always working. It's not like one works and the other just snoozes. No, they're always working. And the health and balance of our body kind of depends on them being in balance with one another. Now, if you're feeling, the cool thing about Porges' research is that he's actually linked the emotional states with these two physiological states. So when we're in that stress mode, he calls it, we're feeling more anxious with fear when it's imbalanced in that state. But you can also be kind of revved up if you're doing a sporting competition, and it's not necessarily unhealthy for your body to be in that state because there's no fear. Okay, so you could be in that state really revved up, intense, and in that state with fear due to life events, or being in that state a little bit chronically due to life events, feeling overwhelmed, and having anxiety. And then there's also that system can be revved up for an athletic activity, and then guess what? That body can then rebalance that system. Okay? So sometimes some of us with fear and anxiety are stuck with a little bit of imbalance, and sometimes a lot of imbalance, and it becomes a chronic state. And then all sorts of things are possible in the body of any type of symptom. Imagine it's in charge of our digestion. So any digestive symptom you have can be related to that state of having anxiety with fear. Okay? And also, I'm not making any conclusions or anything. I'm just giving you information. Okay? So you can go, hey, I wonder if that makes sense for me or my family or someone I know. And then you've got that restorative state, right? And that restorative state, sometimes when it's overwhelmed and we get a little bit stuck in that state with fear, we can have feelings of depression, lack of motivation, those types of things. Okay? So again, and when this state is actually in balance, then it's kind of strange, but we, part of our survival mechanism with this rest and restore state of the autonomic nervous system is, for instance, if in nature, if a lion is chasing, what do they call a cruder or an antelope. Let's use an antelope, and he gets the antelope and he thinks he's got the antelope, but the antelope's body can actually go down to where you can almost not detect breath. We have the ability to do that too if we were in a state where that was gonna help us survive. And so again, there's different degrees of that state where we really shut down, and then if we're shutting down a little bit chronically with fear, then it can be, symptoms of depression and lack of motivation. But that state for survival, that antelope goes, does that thing, and then it jumps up and runs away. But the good news about the antelope is that antelope can rebalance the system quite easily, whereas we with our emotional state can be sometimes harder. We've had a life event that sort of caused a freeze in our body or a shock that's put us in that state, and then it's hard to get out of. Okay, so there's different degrees. I'm just using these sort of general examples to make my point. And as well, so you can be in these different states dominantly in a healthy way and in a not as healthy way if it's with fear, if that becomes chronic. Okay, and that's how you would link your emotional state to I wonder what's going on in this autonomic nervous system of mine, that the balance of it is so important to our general health and well-being. These are the people who I treat who have a chronic imbalance in their autonomic nervous system, come to me because they are experiencing chronic symptoms that are not resolving. It could be pain, could be digestive systems, could be systems with their gynae, all sorts of things. And so in that state, the cool thing about osteopathy, and now with my my other job being a pain coach, is my job is to teach people how to create more balance in your autonomic nervous system. And osteopathy has wonderful tools to help me to do that to a patient with my hands. So that's where I think, if you've heard about osteopathy and heard that it can be very powerful, but it's a bit strange, it's because our tools are different from the norm, because we're really focused on balancing that autonomic nervous system. Okay? So fight or flight, do you understand now? It's more of that anxious state, and it can become chronic with fear, and then it can cause all sorts of, usually a lot of tension in the body, all sorts of different symptoms. When patients come to me, and I've had someone who said, oh, I have chronic burping, or I have chronic hiccups, or I have terrible pain just here when I eat, or I have whatever it is, there's no strange symptom to me. And it's not strange that it comes and goes. It's just telling me there's an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. And if we take the tools to balance that, then those symptoms are going to decrease, become less intense and less frequent. Okay? So again, when we work on your symptoms like that, then we're really getting to the cause. So often the cause of chronic issues is an imbalance in the autonomic nervous system. Now, what to do about it? Breath, walking, anything that you enjoy, okay? There's a million different ways to meditate. It can be playing with your children, being in that present moment. You don't have to take up, a really serious practice of meditation or anything like that. And that can be really challenging for people living with a lot of anxiety and overwhelm in their life, to sit down and be still. That's the whole point. It's very challenging. So a walk in nature, all those types of things. And now let's get back to the research with Stephen Porges. So Stephen Porges, his research is so fascinating because he actually takes this restorative system, the parasympathetic, and he links four more. We kind of think of it as just one nerve, which is the vagus nerve, comes from your brainstem, two different parts, two different branches go down your body and go to every single part, every single organ in your body, and help it function, right? Now, with his research, he's also added into this restorative part of our body 4 different other nerves. And one of them is our inner ear, goes to our inner ear. They're called cranial nerves. Cranial nerve means it comes out of your brain. A spinal nerve means it comes out of your spine, right? Because that's our nervous system, is our brain and our spine. So nerves come off of our nervous system either in the brain level or at the spinal level. So the brain has 12 cranial nerves, doesn't matter, but 4 of them he's linked to be a part of this system with the vagus nerve. Fascinating stuff, let me tell you. So middle ear, facial muscles, and then actually the muscle right here is what other cranial nerves he's linked with that vagus nerve. I'm getting complicated, don't worry about it. The cool thing about his findings were he would give children with autism headphones on with music, and he would make sure the pitch, it was instrumental music, and he'd make sure the pitch of the music was a certain pitch that he's researched and has all this information to trigger different parts of the inner ear. And what that did, sometimes people with autism, it's that background noise, like they're so sensitive, their sensory that nervous system is picking up things that people without autism aren't picking up. And he was able to really help by developing these different aspects of the nerve, you could kind of say, by getting it firing differently with these different pitches of sound. That's amazing. He was able to help them so that they weren't so overloaded with sensory. Amazing. And another thing he recommends, because of that, really powerful tool to know, or information to know about those other nerves going to the face, the facial muscles and the inner ear and this muscle, is singing. So sing in your shower, sing in your car. Singing is a really great tool to get the sound going in our middle ear and then to get our facial muscles also moving. So singing can be, and then if you're in a choir or something and you're learning music, I mean, all those things are so wonderful to help keep that balance in that system, really. That's what the information he's been sharing with the world. And it's very cool for practitioners like me, because it really linking that emotional, just having more information and not just saying, oh, this is your fight or flight state and this is your restorative state. That's it. No, there's more. And he's linked again these other interesting aspects of it. And what he says when we're in a state of a balance in our ANS is, he calls it a state of social engagement, which I think is so cool, because a state of social engagement doesn't mean your life is perfect. It means you can go out and engage in life and not feel overwhelmed and not go into fear, basically, because that state is without fear. Does that make sense? Is that kind of cool? So if you're someone who knows you're having these imbalances in your emotion, add in singing, or add in, that's why chanting's so powerful, especially in a group, or just to be, inhale and exhale and say, Om, and you'll feel the sound in that area, you'll hear it, and then you're also working those muscles. Hope that was helpful. There's a million things you can do to help balance your ANS, and, restorative yoga, walking in nature, anything that makes your body feel more, relaxed and feel more calm, basically. Because when we really are trying to help our body heal itself, do you think it does it a good job of healing itself in this state when I'm tense and or when I'm more relaxed, right? And someone who you may know, or yourself, who's experiencing a lot of depressive feelings or lack of motivation, you can see it on people's faces, right? So there's that connection there. And there's tons of research about posture and smiling. If you smile, you're kind of telling your body that you're more balanced. If your shoulders are back, there's research telling us that the body functions better. And again, you would say there's more balance in the autonomic nervous system. I can't leave without talking about posture. Of course, if you think about it, the chain of nerves that make up that sympathetic state, they go down on either side of your spine, way in the back. So at the front of your spine, the very front, and they go all the way down the front of your spine. So again, you could say if you're a really shallow breather, you're just breathing into here and you've got, pretty kyphotic or rolled shoulder posture, just having that chronically, and then the head goes forward, would not be a good posture and breathing pattern to create more balance in that autonomic nervous system. So just shifting that, getting stronger in the muscles back here, and breathing into your belly more, can be hugely beneficial. Again, we have these patterns that developed in our body over time, and I feel like they work for a long time for us, and then we get to a point for some of us where they just don't work anymore, especially if you've had a lot of physical traumas or emotional traumas. It just, at some point, sometimes the body's like, hey, You're getting these chronic issues now and chronic pain because what we're doing isn't working anymore. So we have to change those patterns. And some people get away with not perfect patterns for whatever reason, and they're okay. They don't have chronic issues or chronic pain. Who knows why? But yeah, so hopefully this gives you more information about how to balance your ANS, why it is so important. Both of those systems, they go to they input and help every single organ of your body function. It's a big deal. Alrighty, if you have any questions, please answer them. And let me know if you know you're doing stuff to balance your autonomic nervous system that's really working for you. I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. Alrighty, have a great day. See you next week. Bye-bye.